Hey, what's up there, YouTubers? It's me again, Brian, aka Gamer55551, and I am back with a My 2 Cent video for this week, for the week of December 7th to the 13th, 2025, where I take a look at a couple of stories that caught my attention and give you my thoughts about it and my opinion about them. I also want to point out I may or may not be able to do a review and have it up by Wednesday, how I normally post it. This is mostly due to the fact that there's something in my condo I need to get fixed though. I'm going to get some help on it though, but depending on how quickly depending on how big of it is and how quickly it can be done, I might or might not. So it depends on how everything plays out. So hopefully I can do a review and have it up by Wednesday, but if not, then know what the situation is, why I didn't have a review ready for Wednesday at all. But anyway, we got 4 stories to cover this week, including the Game Awards that happened this week, including one game which I would say was pretty obvious, or should I say, wasn't really surprised in terms of the amount of awards it won and everything. Some concerns regarding Call of Duty to a certain degree. Capcom making some interesting comments about some of their IPs, and some surprises that were announced during the Game Awards from Capcom as well. And of course, Black Friday happened, and apparently it seems to be there's some questions about what with Xbox in general, as there's some folks think it didn't do well, but there may be more in context in terms of what some people may have left out and everything. But anyway, if you're interested where I got the source of these informations, links will be in the description of this video, assuming you're watching this either on YouTube or Patreon. And of course, timestamps will also be in the description as well if there are certain parts of this video you wish to skip to and all. But before we get started, I would like to do what I like to call the quick My 2 cents, stories that kind of caught my attention, but I'm not going to go into a huge amount of details and all. The first one has to do with, apparently Bethesda dropped a interesting surprise, and that is the Skyrim Anniversary Edition has landed on the Nintendo Switch 2 this week and all, which on one hand that sounds great that we're getting the Anniversary Edition as the other versions are. But on the other hand, there has been some criticisms about this version, as ranging from the fact that it's only at 30 frames per second, to basically there have been reports of some bugs and glitches, although supposedly Bethesda is aware of it and trying to fix it and all. So, and from what I understand, if you have the Anniversary Edition on the regular Switch, you can upgrade to this version for the Switch 2 version for free and all. So it's kind of a mixed bag on this one. Great that we're getting a Switch 2 version of the Anniversary Edition, but at the same time, I also feel like, how many more times can Bethesda beat a dead horse with Skyrim? I mean, there's going to be a point where it's like, you've done all you could with Skyrim, you've pretty much released it everywhere. Do we need another version or something like that? I mean, that's at least how I feel and everything with the whole situation Indeed. But in either case, though, the Anniversary Edition is now available on the Switch 2. We also learned that we apparently got 3 new games added to the Nintendo Switch Online service though. The first one has to do with from the N64 side, which has 2 3D platforms from Ubisoft. One is basically, I believe, is Rayman 2: The Great Escape, and the other one called Tonic Troubles. So kind of interesting to see this one make its way into basically the Nintendo Switch Online, but nevertheless, it's a nice addition indeed. But the big one I would say for me is basically for the GameCube library is that they put Wario World into the Audi as well on the Nintendo Switch Online service, which is certainly nice indeed though. It's nice that Nintendo put that in there though. I'm hoping that this opens the door to the possibility that we'll maybe see more of Wario in the foreseeable future. Maybe a Wario World 2 or another 3D Wario game, to even maybe a port of Wario Land Shake It, the Wii title, making its way over to maybe the Switch or the Switch 2. So hopefully, I'm hoping that it opens the door to that. But either case, I'm glad that it's in the Nintendo Switch library. It is an interesting game. It's not perfect, but it's definitely certainly had its charms, indeed, for those who played it back on the GameCube back in 2003 and all. We also learned that supposedly there was a Postal game in development, but the project unfortunately got canceled after there were allegations that the game was using generative AI in order to create the game and all. Now, AI has sort of been sort of a controversial and hot topic kind of approach when it comes to gaming. There's some concerns and some allegations here and there of that kind of stuff. So it's sort of a double-edged sword when it comes to AI. I think there is certainly some benefits with AI if utilized correctly, but I can understand some of the concerns indeed about that and all. So we'll have to wait and see. It's a very unfortunate that this one got shut down if these allegations are actually true and all. We also learned that Grasshopper Interactive does want to bring Romeo is a Dead Man to the Switch 2, but supposedly they need to make sure that the game's engine will play nicely or work on the Switch 2 and everything like that. Now, we have seen Suda51 has brought a lot of their games over to, the Switch, though. We've seen, basically No More Heroes 1, 2, and 3 make its way over. Shadows of the Dam did. Lollipop Chainsaw, although there were some issues with it right on the Switch 1, but supposedly the Switch 2 version is on its way and everything like that. It will be very interesting if this game does make its way over to the Switch 2. We do know, I believe the Switch 2 does support Unreal Engine 5, and I believe this game runs on Unreal Engine 5 and all, so it's not out of the realm of possibility that this game could make its way. Plus, we've been seeing ports of games that start making their way over, so from third-party developers, really start making their way over to the Switch 2. So it's possible this game could make its way over, but time will ultimately tell indeed. But being that I am a fan of Suda51's game, I would like to see Romeo is a Dead Man make its way over to the Switch 2 and all. We also learned that supposedly the creator of the Shimu series is considering taking legal actions against supposedly what is apparently a fake Shimu 4 trailer that recently hit the internet and everything like that, and a lot of people thought it would mean Shimu 4 was going to happen, but that turns out to be not the case at all, though. So it's going to be very interesting to see how this goes about and everything. So that one's going to be interesting indeed. We also learned that the creator of the Tekken series, Kazuno Hara, sorry if I'm not butchering his name correctly, it will be leaving Bandai Namco this month, though. Obviously, most know him from, I think, the Tekken series, but I believe he's worked on other games as well. I think also the Soul Calibur series, too. So it's very unfortunate that he is leaving and all. Obviously, there may be some other stuff he wants to do, but you know what? It is what it is, to be exact, though. So obviously, it will be very interesting to see how the Tekken franchise moves forward if he is stepping down, from working on the series and everything. We also learned that supposedly, although this was leaked, but now later confirmed, that Leon Kennedy will be in the upcoming Resident Evil Requiem, if I'm saying the name correctly, though, which probably was the game's worst kept secret and everything, because there were rumors about it, and they were supposedly leaked, although some claims the images was fake. But now that Capcom has officially confirmed that, though, it really isn't surprising indeed. I am curious to see how Leon Kennedy is going to play, or how his character is going to be used in basically the new Resident Evil game and everything like that. I mean, I'm still also curious to see how much of Raccoon City are we really going to explore in the this new Resident Evil entry, though. And could maybe like Claire Redfield or Sherry Birkins make an appearance? I mean, it's a possibility. I can't say 100% for certain that's going to be the case, but it's not out of the realm of possibilities and all. So we'll have to wait and see. But obviously, this was a worst kept secret, but now we know Leon Kennedy will be in the new Resident Evil game. We also learned that Ubisoft is working on an update, or has an update available for basically the Switch 2 version of Assassin's Creed Shadow, which did come out, but there were some reports of some crashes and stability issues. Now, I don't know how widespread it is, but obviously some people were spotting that, and supposedly Ubisoft took wind of that, and hopefully this update addresses those issues, but we'll see if this one actually addresses the problem or if it makes the situation worse and all. We also learned that Limited Run Games is working to bring the NES, LGN classic Jaws to the Nintendo, to the Switch, and also other systems as well and all. I mean, I'll give credit for Limited Run Games working on some of these games that a lot of people wouldn't think, that would wonder why would they work on this and anything like that. We saw that with like a Jurassic Park collection, to even I think one based on I think Nickelodeon stuff like Real Monsters, Nickelodeon Guts and everything, to Rocko's Modern Life. So them working on LGN's Jaws is, let's just say, interesting indeed, because LGN doesn't have the greatest history when it comes to licensed games and everything like that. But we'll see how this one does when it does eventually come out and all. And last but not least, we are learning, and this one's kind of was sort of a surprise announcement, is that Xbox is going to be bringing South of Midnight not only to the PS5, but also to the Nintendo Switch 2. This one was kind of interesting to hear that they were going to bring this game over and all. And I'm kind of curious to see how, for me, I'm kind of curious to see how the Switch version plays and all. I played it on the Xbox Series S and all. I thought it was a good game. Nothing huge or anything like that, but still enjoyable nevertheless. I am curious to see how well this version will run on the Switch 2. Can it still maintain a 60 frames per second and everything? Are there any going to be how this version is going to hold up compared to the Xbox Series S or X, for that matter? So it's going to be very interesting to see how South of Midnight will look like on the Switch 2 compared to the Xbox systems, though. And as I mentioned, it's also coming to the PS5 as well at all. And in the movie and TV show part of the Quick My Two Cents, we had 2 trailers that premiered this week. The first one has to do with the second season of Hulu's Paradise, which I did enjoy the first one indeed, and I'm very curious to see what direction they'll go with the second season. Obviously, it looks like it will be exploring for what happened to the world following the event known as, that was referred to as episode 7 on season 1, known as The Day, when the event that led to the end of the world and everything like that. I'm curious to see how that's going to what the rest of the world's going to look like, to what's happening in the underground bunker known as Paradise. Could there be major issues or anything like that following the events of season 1 and all? So it's going to be very interesting to see how the second season is going to play out. I'm definitely going to be keeping an eye out on that one. And we finally got basically the upcoming trailer for the upcoming movie Supergirl and all. As some of you know, she made an appearance near the end of end of James Gunn's Superman movie. It basically played off the song Blondie's Call Me, classic song indeed though. I'm very curious to see how this one's going to be when it comes out next year. So this one is definitely on my radar to take a look at indeed. We also learned that Disney has started to shut down its add-ons for Disney with Hulu. Now, what they mean by that is that there's no going to be this you could sign up for the Disney bundle or anything like that, which was at the time when I signed up back a couple of years ago. It was Hulu Plus, Disney Plus, and ESPN Plus. Obviously, that has changed over the years and everything like that. I'm still able to access my stuff, but we all know that Disney is working on shutting down the Hulu app and integrating everything into Disney Plus. I'm still going to wonder how this is all going to work out and everything like that, since Disney now owns all of Hulu and everything. So we'll have to wait and see how this is going to play out and everything. We also have been learning about basically that Paramount, should they fail in terms of their hostile takeover of Warner Brothers Discovery, is considering eyeing Comcast, to say the least and all. The whole situation with the whole Netflix, Warner Brothers, and Paramount, to me, is just, I do question how much of this information is accurate, how much of it is not, though. It will be interesting to see if Comcast is willing to sell, unlike Warner Brothers it is. I'm not sure they are, but we'll have to wait and see on that one. But as far as all the other announcements regarding this, though, we're also learning about how Netflix did at one point consider buying Fox or Disney or even EA before they chose to go with Warner Bros. And everything and all. And we're also learning how some analysts believe that the deal will get approved and all. Now, again, a lot of things could happen between, supposedly it will take like 18 to 15 months for this deal to go through and all. A lot of things could happen, though. I mean, we saw what happened with Microsoft buying Activision Blizzard, how there were certain setbacks along the way, but eventually they were able to conclude their transaction of Microsoft purchasing Activision Blizzard. I'm still in the camp believing more than likely Netflix will buy Warner Brothers Discovery. Now, I could be wrong. There could be a wrench being thrown in this situation and all. It is possible that Paramount could succeed with their hostile takeover, although right now there are some reports indicating that may not be the case at all. So time will ultimately tell on that one, though. But at this time, though, I would say for now, I'm leaning towards basically Netflix is buying Warner Brothers. Again, like I said, I could be wrong. I understand some of the concerns. I do think there are some valid concerns about it, though. But I still stand behind my position that I can't help but feel that had Paramount succeeded, I'm not sure they would have faced the same scrutiny that Netflix is facing right now. Now, again, that's my opinion, though. Some might disagree, but I stand behind making that statement and all and everything and all. Okay, with the Quick My 2 Cent part now done, along with the movie and TV show part of the Quick My 2 Cent, we'll get started with our first story, and this one has to do with particularly a report coming out on Black Friday regarding the Xbox. Now, or Xbox Series X and S. Now, Black Friday, normally you see a lot of these companies will put out like a deal, to pick this up, especially for the holidays and all. Nintendo does it, Sony does it, and yeah, even Microsoft has done it in the past. But this Black Friday was kind of interesting in a way, as it seems as though Microsoft didn't really have any, and this kind of led to the speculation that meaning that the Xbox console was not selling well or anything like that. It's a narrative we've heard one too many times, although there's been a lot of reports, how their hardware is down, but in terms of engagement, it seems to be up and everything. So it just puts Microsoft sort of in this odd position to a certain degree. Well, recently, Matt Piscatella weighed in a little bit on this, though, but this comes from an article from Pure Xbox. It basically reads that, here's what it had to say, quote, "There's been an unfortunate narrative during the rounds on social media this weekend about the Xbox console, and it all has to do with some new Black Friday 2025 data that suggests the Xbox Series X and S sold poorly during Black Friday's weekend. Specifically, Matt Piscatella of the Adams Group Satana took to BlueSky Monday to share how the PS5 dominated Black Friday week with a 47% of gaming hardware sales in the US, followed by the Switch 2 at 24%, and a little-known NEX Playground at 14%. The other 15 would have been shared by Xbox Series XS, Switch 1, and whatever else fall in the hardware category, not specifically though. To be honest, we had to look up the next Playground, figure out what it was. Apparently, it's a Kinect-like system for kids and families that got amazing reviews and only costs like $249 and all. As you can see, it wasn't great in the UK either. The game business reported that Xbox Series X and S only account for 10% of the market during Black Friday weekend, with the PS5 ranking up a whopping 62%. Before we go into all doom and gloom, this is exactly what we expected. Xbox basically had no Black Friday deals for the Xbox Series S and S, apart from some extremely slight reduction at a handful of retailers, mostly in the UK, where the PS5 received massive reduction, therefore ended up selling particularly well. Industry experts have warned that the Black Friday sales doesn't tell us much about consumer demand for Xbox, which could be true to some extent and everything. Matt Piscatella basically said, Black Friday's week is extremely promotional for video games. Stuff that does not price promote, generally speaking, here does not see much of a seasonal lift from prior weeks, usually none. Black Friday weekend's performance can collaborate closely to what's being promoted and by how much. While Christopher Drinks reads that, quote, "Although it may be true, it's worth noting that Xbox was not competitive with its pricing over Black Friday, and it seems that there isn't a huge amount of stock in circulation. So as much as So it has much to do with Xbox ambition with its consoles as it is with consumer demand. And also, Matt Patricia said on the hardware side, PS5 saw the most extensive discounting, so it's got a big sales lift. Wouldn't take much more away from the week than that, TBH. So basically, some people came to the conclusion, thought that it's another problem for Microsoft, although according to what the article and what some analysts are saying, it turns out to be they really had no deal or anything in place, which is kind of interesting indeed that Microsoft wouldn't try to at least take advantage of Black Friday to a certain extent and everything like that. Nevertheless, though, it does seem that Microsoft is, in some degree, I won't say entirely, but some degree, slowly moving away from the Series X and S and moving on to what their next system will be and all. We know that they are hammering down saying that they are working on the next generation console and everything. So it is sort of a little bit unfortunate they didn't have anything for Black Friday. I think it would have been nice if they did have something there, but either way, that's how it is and all. Still interested to see how the Switch 2 got, I think, 24% though. It'll be interesting to see how that is next year and all, if things have changed, after a whole year with, the Switch 2 and everything. So overall, I can understand why some people might be troubled for the fact that Microsoft did not have like a Black Friday deal or anything like that. But according to, based on at least what I'm reading from what some of these analysis are saying, it doesn't sound like to be a huge deal. At least that's how I'm reading it and all. Okay, we're going to take a quick break, and when we get back, we'll get to part 2. And this one has to do with an interesting comment that Capcom had made in regards of some of their IPs and some surprise announcements they made during the Game Awards and all. So we'll take a quick break, and we will be right back. Okay, and we are back with part 2 of my 2 cent video, and for this one, we're going to be taking a look at a comment made by Capcom now. Now, Capcom has been around since the NES days and everything like that, and they've been known for many different franchises and all. Obviously, ranging from Street Fighters to Resident Evil to Mega Man and so forth. So they've developed a lot of games that have often been considered classics, though. But we've also seen Capcom's gone through its ups and downs, and they've also been have been doing pretty well as of lately, though. A lot of their games they've been putting out have been doing really good and everything. Whether it's the remake of like Resident Evil 2, 3, and 4, Resident Evil 7, Resident Evil Village and all, the Monster Hunter games, which have been extremely popular and all, to that, to even we got, a second Dragon Dogma game, which is certainly great indeed. Plus, we're getting a brand new Onimusha game and all. But there has also been some IPs that they've also have kind of remained dormant for quite some time, whether it's something like Breath of Fire or Strider to even Dino Crisis for that matter, though. Well, recently, Capcom recently has weighed in on that and has said some interesting comment that does bring some hope to that, though, with some interesting announcements that were made during the Game Awards as well. In an article from MyNintendo.com, it reads that, quote, Capcom owns a wealth of popular video games IP, and in its latest report, it highlights Mega Man, Devil May Cry, and Ace Attorney as franchises it owns and wish to reevaluate through new releases, remakes, and ports on new hardware, which presumably includes the Nintendo Switch 2. This is what they had to say. Quote, they point that out, how they have all these IPs and all, but here's what else it said. It said, we aim to expand our user base and improve our performance through new releases, remakes, and ports of titles in these series to new hardwares. By enhancing brand power and cultivating loyal fan base, we will grow these into core IPs. Now, some of these, though, we've seen actually start to get, let's just say, I'm not 100% sure that these need to be, remade or remastered or really out there and all. Devil May Cry is one example. I think that series has done very well, although it would be nice to see another entry. Ace Attorney, I would say, has fared pretty well and everything like that. Mega Man, I kind of agree, considering that we haven't had a new Mega Man game until recently announced, which I'll get to, which happens to be called Mega Man Dual Override, which looks like it's basically Mega Man 12 and everything. So, but in either case, though, Mega Man I kind of understand to some degree, because the last one was Mega Man 11. I think that was back in 2017 and all. And hopefully this is starting the stage of maybe seeing maybe other IPs from Capcom get another shot as well. Like I said, I think Dino Crisis should deserve another shot. I don't disagree with that. To even, Strider as well. So I think there are certainly IPs that Capcom should really take a look at and see if they can revive and bring some of these back. I mean, I'm glad that we're getting a new Mega Man game. I think that's great, but I'm hoping this opens the door to maybe another entry in the Mega Man X series and everything. Maybe they could revive Breath of Fire to some extent. So there's certainly some IPs I would like to see Capcom try to come back and see if they can revive those IPs as well. I think this new Mega Man game is definitely a step in the right direction, but it will be interesting to see if other games start making their way as well. And to kick off with Capcom, continue off with that one, during the Game Awards, it was announced that Pragmata is actually coming to the Switch 2 and will also be getting an amiibo as well, that's interesting indeed. It does sound like Capcom is more all in or more into the Switch 2 than we have seen before, everything. So the fact that this is coming to the Switch 2 is certainly nice indeed. I am curious to see how Pragmata, if I'm saying the name correctly, is going to run on the Switch 2. It's going to be very interesting to see how well that game runs indeed, though. But so far, some of the footage that has come out about Resident Evil Requiem seem to be very positive at the very least. And if they can pull that, if that game gets pulled off very well and does well indeed, then I do think this one could do well on the Switch 2. Obviously, there may be some difference in some areas of the visuals. I wouldn't be surprised whatsoever. But if they can manage to get the game to run well and play well, I think that is certainly great indeed. So that one I will certainly keep an eye out, though. But overall, I would say Capcom seems to be more open to reviving some of these IPs through remakes or remasters and all. But I'm also hoping that this opens the door for maybe new entries to some of these IPs that have remained dormant for quite some time. I do hope that this leads to maybe another Strider game or another Dino Crisis or another Breath of the Wild. No, I certainly would be down with that if they do bring those games back. Indeed. Also, as I mentioned before, Pragmata coming to the Nintendo Switch 2. An interesting surprise announcement, but definitely a good one nevertheless and all. Okay, we're going to take a quick break, and when we get back, we'll get to part 3, and this one has to do with Call of Duty, and apparently it sounds like Black Ops 7 is not in the best of positions, to be exact. So we'll take a quick break, and we will be right back. Okay, and we are back with part 3 of my My True Scent video, and for this one, we're going to be taking a look at a situation that unfortunately is happening to Call of Duty, especially if you are a fan of that series and all. Now, up to this point though, Call of Duty has been pretty much, in terms of the way, dominant in somewhat of the military shooter type of approach though. There have been some other games out there, and they certainly have their fan base, but to top Call of Duty, however, that's been a tough hill to climb. I mean, EA did try with Battlesix 2042, and that didn't exactly go over as well as they would have hoped for, and there were probably multiple problems with that game, at least how some people had reported it all. But however, this year we did get to see Battlefield 6 come out. Now, I didn't try the beta out. It really wasn't a game that clicked with me, but then again, I could say the same thing with Call of Duty and the direction Activision Blizzard had been going on with that game and all. But it was also nevertheless, it was sort of interesting to see how both games were doing. And interestingly enough, despite the reputation EA has sort of built for themselves and all, not in a positive light, let's be exact, though, Battlefield 6 seemed to have gotten a very, let's just say, a more positive response than, say, the Call of Duty series, though, with Black Ops 7 coming out and everything. People tried out the beta, and so far it seemed that people were able to were okay with the beta and all, and the game eventually came out, and there has been some numbers back and forth, including the Steam charts, but it does seem to indicate that Battlefield 6 seemed to be sitting very well with a lot of consumers out there, where Black Ops 7 or the latest Call of Duty entries, it doesn't seem that much, although an article from Pure Xbox seemed to indicate that the game is basically number one on Xbox Game Pass, so it does sound like it has found some success, indeed, but nevertheless, though, the game hasn't found the success I think Activision Blizzard would have liked, though. Well, recently, it does sound like Activision Blizzard did, however, respond in terms of what are the updates we could be seeing for, Black Ops 7's, but it does, at least their claim of what they're going to do going forward with the Call of Duty franchise in general, though. There are several articles about this, but there is a statement that seems to come out that caught some people's attention, though. This is coming from Nintendo Life, but they picked it up from CallOfDuty.com, and this is the part that they had to say. Quote, Call of Duty has enjoyed long-standing success because of all you, a passionate community that demands excellency and deserves nothing less. We also know that for some of you, the franchise has not met your expectations fully. To be very clear, we know what you expect, and rest assured we will deliver and over-deliver on these expectations as we move forward. We will no longer do back-to-back releases of Modern Warfare or Black Ops games. The reasons are many, but the main one is to ensure we provide an absolute unique experience each and every year. We will drive innovation that is meaningful, not incremental. While we aren't sharing those plans today, we look forward to doing so when the time is right. Now, whether or not Activision Blizzard or Activision in general can succeed on that remains to be seen, though. I will say one thing you could say is that they're not doing like 1 year Modern Warfare and 1 year Black Ops, which is certainly good, but I really think one thing that they could do is end the yearly release of Call of Duty. I just think it to me, at least from my perspective, it's a bit ridiculous, and it's starting to sort of catch on to some folks out there who are not really, who are just like annoyed of them releasing the game every single year and all and everything like that, though. I just feel like it's adding to like fatigue to the series, and it also makes me worry that Activision Blizzard has put like all their eggs in one basket into Call of Duty, treat their studios or that they own as Call of Duty Studios, and just become the Call of Duty company and all. And I just feel like you're putting all your eggs in one basket, and you're setting yourself up for a situation what would happen if Call of Duty flopped and everything. Now, I know some would say it's too big to fail, but it's not out of the realm of possibility that it could fail. There is that possibility that it could happen, though. So we'll have to wait and see what Activision Blizzard does, whether what they're claiming would actually change the way we play Call of Duty, or at the very least try to fix the problem people had with Black Ops 7 or not. So we'll have to wait and see. Plus, we're still waiting to see them bring Call of Duty to the Nintendo system, particularly now with the Switch 2. Supposedly they signed a 10-year deal with Nintendo, but time will only tell if they can pull that off or not. So we'll have to wait and see. Although there have been some reports that Sledgehammer Games are looking for folks with knowledge of work bringing the games to like the Switch 2 and all, but again, we'll have to wait and see how that all plays out. So overall, obviously not a great year for Call of Duty, and all. Whether their statement will mean that they're really going to make some major changes or not, that remains to be seen at this time. So we'll have to wait and see on that and all. Okay, we're going to take a quick break, and when we get back, we'll get to our fourth and final part, and this one has to do with the Game Awards and what basically got announced, including one game which let's just say I'm not surprised it won Game of the Year, but somewhat surprised to see it really dominate and everything. So we'll take a quick break, and we will be right back. Okay, and we are back with our fourth and final part of our My Two Cent video. And for this one, we're going to be taking a look at the Game Awards 2025. Now, obviously, the Game Awards happened this week. I unfortunately didn't get a chance to catch them because, part of it was at work and other things to do. But I was able to read up upon basically some of the stuff here and there, especially some tweets or posts from folks I watch, folks I like to follow and everything that got a good idea what game won what award and everything like that, though. And I will say one game that I think was, I'll put it this way, I had a feeling it was probably going to win Game of the Year, though, but I did not expect it to truly dominate the entire award ceremony, and that one has to do with Claire Expedition 33. To see that game really dominate based on everything out there it's got to be pretty impressive, especially from the studio and everything and all. So that certainly was, let's just say, interesting indeed, though. In terms of it obviously winning Game of the Year, but it also won Best Game Design, Best Narrative, Best Art Direction, Best Score and Music, Best Performance by Jennifer English. It also won, let's see if it also won anything else. Oh yeah, Best Independent Game, Best Debut Indie Game. Anything else that it win? Best RPG. So certainly that certainly is win. So like basically it won about, let's see right here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, okay, let's see right here, 7, 8, 9, let's see, I believe that's it, about 9 of them, which is pretty impressive indeed when you look at it, though. To win that much, including Game of the Year, is absolutely amazing and everything. So it's got to be pretty impressive, especially from the studio that made this game. I do think there is a good chance this is going to put them on the map to a certain degree. It'll be interesting to see if this game, outside of, see if it will make its way over to Switch 2 or not, though. But it'll be interesting to see what they do going forward, whether we see like a sequel or not, though. But certainly, this definitely must have been a very good night for the developer Sandfall Interactive with their game and everything. As far as what other games may have won, well, I will say Best Audio Design went to Battlefield 6, so that's certainly it's got to be good for EA and DICE. Innovation and Accessibility went to Doom: The Dark Age from id Software and Bethesda Softworks. Basically, South of Midnight won Games for Impact. No Man's Sky won for Best Ongoing Game. Boulder Gate 3, that won Game of the Year in the past, won Best Community Support, though. In terms of Best Mobile Game, we have Uematsu Pretty Derby. That one did well. The Midnight Walker won Best VR AR Game. Hades 2, even though that was nominated for Game of the Year, though that one didn't win, it did win Best Action Game. Hollow Knight Silksong, again, another game that was nominated for Game of the Year. Again, that one didn't win, but it did win Best Action and Adventure Game. Best Fighting Game went to Fatal Fury Cities of the Wolves. Best Family Game went to Donkey Kong Bonanza. Again, that game was nominated for Game of the Year as well. Best Sim Strategy Game went to Final Fantasy Tactica, the Advance Collection, if I'm saying that name correctly. Mario Kart World won Best Sports and Racing Game, which is kind of interesting because there's been some talks about whether or not some people thought that Mario Kart World flopped or not, or did very well, or whether it did well. It sounds like it did well, and at least it won an award of some sort. Arc Raiders won Best Multiplayer Game. The Last of Us Season 2 won Best Adaptation, despite some controversy over some folks how they felt about Season 2 of HBO's The Last of Us. Grand Theft Auto 6 is considered the most anticipated game, so certainly, obviously, there's going to be very interesting to see what that is for the game when it comes out next year. In terms of players' voice, though, they believe they went with Wither Wade from Cruel Games, and then of course you had Content Creator of the Year. Some of these I really have not heard of though. Best Esport Game went to Counter-Strike 2. We have Best Esport Athlete as Best Esport Team and all. But obviously the big winner out of this though is probably Claire Expedition 33. So yeah, that certainly was a good night for them though. Like I said, I was kind of surprised to see them take home a lot of awards and everything like that. Game of the Year, I felt like it had the best shot to win, even though as a Nintendo fan, I would have liked to have seen Donkey Kong Bonanza won it. Still, I'm not surprised that Claire Expectation 33 won though. I mean, I wouldn't even be surprised if Hades 2 or Hollow Knight Silksong won Game of the Year as well. So it's certainly, I will say, good night for the developers of Claire Expedition 33. So overall, I mean, some folks liked the Game Awards, some folks didn't though. But obviously the real winner, of course, was Claire Expedition 33. Okay, this concludes this My 2 Cent video for this week. And again, these are my opinion. What are yours? What are your thoughts about this report about Microsoft not having a Black Friday deal of anything though? Do you think that do you think this is sort of bad, troubling for Microsoft not to do that, or do you don't think it's as huge of a deal as some people made it out to be? What are your thoughts about Capcom and basically them talking about reevaluating some IPs like Devil May Cry, Mega Man, Ace Attorney? You think this is a smart move on their part though? Are there other IPs you think they should try to go back to and everything like that? Were you surprised to hear about a new Mega Man game coming out in 2027, or Pragmata actually coming to the Switch 2 now? What are your thoughts about Activision Blizzard responding to the whole situation with Call of Duty and all? Do you think that the success of Battlefield 6 certainly had an impact on Call of Duty in general though? Do you think Microsoft and Activision Blizzard need to take a different approach when it comes to Call of Duty, whether it's gameplay mechanics or not doing yearly annual releases and everything? And what are your thoughts about the Game Awards though? Did you get a chance to watch them? Do you think they were good? Do you think they were bad? Were you surprised to see Claire Expedition 33 really dominate the Game Awards, or are you not that surprised at all? Do you agree with what I said in this video? Do you disagree? Do you have a difference of opinion? As always, sound off in the comment section below. Let me know what you think. And if you do like this video, I hope you hit the like button. I would appreciate it. And I hope you do subscribe to my YouTube channel. If you do, make sure you hit the bell icon for notifications of any new videos I put up. Also, feel free to share this video if you want to, and feel free to donate to my channel if you like. You can do it through PayPal Me, Patreon, or Steam Labs. Links will be in the description of this video, assuming you're watching this on YouTube or at Patreon. And I will see you again next time when I do another video. Hopefully that'll be soon. Until then, from Southern California, I wish you all a good day then. Bye.